What if just 7 days from now you looked in the mirror and no longer recognized the person staring back at you? Not because you changed your face, not because of clothes or style, but because the fire inside you had finally awakened. For so long you've been waiting for the right time, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to give you permission to rise. But deep down you know that waiting has cost you days, weeks, even years that you will never get back. And the truth is harsh. Nothing changes until you decide to change it. Nothing shifts until you choose to take control of your own story. This week can be the turning point, the moment that separates your old life from the one you know you were meant to live. Think about how many times you've told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. How many mornings have begun with a promise and ended with the same old habits? You've carried dreams in your heart like heavy luggage, but fear, doubt, and distraction have kept you grounded. And while the world has continued to move forward, you felt stuck, unseen, and unnoticed. Yet here you are, searching, listening, ready for something more. That's not an accident. That's a sign that your soul is tired of being trapped in the same patterns and is demanding transformation. Imagine the version of yourself who no longer hesitates. Imagine the you who walks into a room and doesn't shrink back, who speaks with clarity and strength, who lives with discipline and purpose. That person is not a fantasy. That person is already inside you, waiting to be released. And here's the truth most people never realize. Transformation is not about massive, unreachable leaps. It's about small, relentless decisions made every single day. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's about pushing through when the old you would have quit. This week, you will be tested. You will feel the pull of your comfort zone begging you to stay the same. You will hear the voice of doubt whispering that change is too hard, too late, or not worth it. But you are stronger than that voice. You have carried too much pain, too much regret to let it win again. Every scar, every failure, every moment you thought broke you, those were not endings. They were lessons, shaping you, preparing you for this exact moment. And when you choose to rise, nothing and no one will be able to hold you down. So why should you stay with me until the very end? Because what you're about to receive is more than motivation. It's a blueprint, a step-by-step path that if you follow it with discipline, will make you unrecognizable in just 7 days. The people around you will notice it in your energy, in your posture, in the way you carry yourself. You won't need to explain. You'll radiate it. This is not about impressing others. This is about becoming someone you can finally respect, someone you can finally believe in, someone you can finally love without apology. 7 days. That's all it takes to start, not to finish the journey, but to create momentum so powerful that the old version of you won't be able to survive. By the time this week ends, you will feel it. You will know you are no longer the same. Stay with me, because your transformation starts now. Transformation begins the moment you make a decision that cannot be reversed. It is not about waiting for motivation to strike because motivation fades. It is about building an inner fire that cannot be extinguished. That fire comes from choice. You must choose who you want to be and then back that choice with action, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. The difference between the person you are today and the person you could be lies in the choices you make in the quiet moments when no one is watching. That is where character is built. That is where transformation is born. Think about how much of your life has been controlled by patterns you didn't even notice. The habit of scrolling instead of moving, the habit of doubting instead of daring, the habit of procrastinating instead of beginning. These patterns are not who you are. They are chains you've been carrying for years. But chains can be broken. And the moment you decide to break one, the weight of your entire life begins to shift. This week is about breaking those chains one by one until you no longer walk as the prisoner of your old self, but as the architect of your new future. The truth is, nothing feels harder than the first step. Fear makes it heavy, doubt makes it complicated, and the comfort of old habits makes it easy to turn back. But once you take that step, once you prove to yourself that you can move forward despite resistance, something powerful happens. You begin to rewrite the story your mind tells about you. You begin to build evidence that you are stronger, more capable, more relentless than you've ever believed. And once your mind sees that proof, transformation becomes unstoppable. This is why discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you carve away the weakness that has been holding you down. You strengthen the muscle of self-respect. You show yourself that you are worthy of the life you desire. And that respect cannot be given by anyone else. It must be earned by you, through you, with the daily actions you take. Others may cheer you on, but only you can do the work. Only you can create the shift that makes people look at you differently, not because you told them you've changed, but because they can feel the change radiating from your presence. Do not underestimate how quickly momentum can build. One disciplined decision today leads to another tomorrow. One act of courage this hour creates strength for the next. And before you know it, you are no longer negotiating with your old habits. You are replacing them. You are not trapped by who you were. You are rising into who you were meant to become. And that rise happens faster than you think when you commit fully. This week will not be easy, but it will be worth it. Every craving to quit, every whisper of doubt, every temptation to fall back into the old you, that is proof you are walking the right path. Growth always resists you at first, but once you push through that resistance, you discover a power you never knew was inside you. That power will not just transform your week, it will transform your life. And when you stand on the other side of these 7 days, you will look back at the person you were and realize something incredible. You are no longer trapped by that version of yourself. You have shed it. You have outgrown it. You have replaced it with strength, with discipline, with unstoppable belief. The old you will not survive this week because the new you is already being born. The world has been waiting to see the real you, but the truth is you've been hiding. You've hidden behind excuses, behind distractions, behind the belief that you weren't ready. But readiness is not something that arrives at your doorstep. It is something you create in the fire of decision. You do not need more time. You do not need more approval. You do not need someone else to tell you it's possible. What you need is the courage to stop running from yourself and finally step into the life that has been calling you all along. Fear has been the invisible cage around your potential. It whispers that you will fail, that people will laugh, that you are not enough. And maybe you have believed that voice for far too long. But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. Fear is only strong when you let it go unchallenged. The moment you take action in the face of fear, its power dissolves. And in that moment, you discover that courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to move forward while fear is still screaming in your ear. When you practice this again and again, something changes inside you. Fear no longer controls you. You begin to control it. Think of what you've already survived, the pain, the disappointment, the nights you thought you couldn't go on. You made it through all of that. If you could endure that, you can endure this. If you could keep breathing when the weight of life felt unbearable, then you have already proven that you are stronger than you think. The version of you that doubts, that hesitates, that delays, that version is blind to your own power. But power is there. It has always been there, waiting for you to claim it. This is the week you stop shrinking. This is the week you stop apologizing for wanting more. This is the week you stop treating your life as if it is something you can casually postpone. Time is moving, whether you act or not. Every sunrise is one less chance to become who you were meant to be. And that reality should not scare you. It should ignite you. Because once you realize how precious every day is, you stop wasting them. You start living them. Every small action you take now is an act of rebellion against the version of you that wants to stay comfortable. Waking up earlier, choosing discipline over distraction, saying no when it would be easier to say yes. These are not just habits. These are declarations. These are you telling the world, I am not who I used to be. And once you start declaring it through your actions, life responds. Opportunities open, energy shifts, people notice. Not because you spoke it into existence, but because you lived it into existence. There will be moments where you feel the urge to return to what is familiar. That is normal. The brain craves comfort, even when comfort destroys potential. But you must remind yourself comfort is not your friend. Comfort is the quiet killer of greatness. And every time you resist it, every time you choose growth over ease, you are proving to yourself that you are no longer willing to settle. 7 days of this mindset will not only change your habits, they will change the way you see yourself. You will no longer see someone who is trapped. You will see someone who is unstoppable. And that shift, once it happens, cannot be undone. Because once you experience your own power, you will never again believe the lie that you are weak. You will know the truth. You are limitless. Limitless potential is not something reserved for the chosen few. It is inside every single person who dares to demand more from themselves. The only reason you have not experienced it fully is because you've been taught to settle. You've been conditioned to believe that ordinary is enough, that comfort is safety, that consistency means staying the same. But you are not here to stay the same. You are here to evolve, to expand, to break through the walls that your past, your fears, and even society have built around you. The moment you decide to stop playing small, the moment you choose to rise above the excuses, you ignite a chain reaction that changes everything. Transformation is not just about doing more. It is about becoming more. It is about stripping away every false belief that told you what you couldn't do and replacing it with proof of what you can. Your mind is a battlefield, and every thought you feed determines whether you step forward or stay stuck. When you feed yourself with doubt, hesitation grows. But when you feed yourself with belief, even the smallest belief, momentum builds. That momentum is the fuel that carries you beyond what you thought was possible. Do not underestimate the power of small victories. Every time you choose to keep a promise to yourself, you build trust. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen your identity. And identity is what truly transforms you. Habits can fade, motivation can dip, but identity, the person you believe yourself to be, anchors everything. When you stop saying, I'm trying to change, and start declaring, I am disciplined, I am focused, I am powerful, you are not lying to yourself. You are rewriting your identity, and the brain fights to stay consistent with the identity you accept. If you say you are weak, you will act weak. If you declare you are strong, you will begin to act with strength. This week is not just about changing your schedule or improving your habits. It is about stepping into a new identity so powerful that the old one cannot survive. Imagine waking up and no longer identifying as someone who struggles, but as someone who conquers. Imagine no longer carrying the weight of past failures, but walking with the confidence that you are capable of anything you commit to. That shift is what will make people look at you differently. They won't just notice what you do, they will feel who you have become. But this process requires honesty. You cannot rise into your higher self while clinging to the excuses of your old self. You cannot become unrecognizable while defending the comfort that has kept you invisible. You must face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. The laziness, the fear, the doubt, not to judge them, but to release them. To acknowledge they were part of your story, but they are not your future. When you release them, you create space for the person you are becoming. And here's the most powerful truth. The person you are becoming is already inside you. It is not something you need to search for outside. It is not hidden in a book, a seminar, or another person's approval. It is waiting, buried under layers of hesitation and fear. When you strip those away with action, with discipline, with courage, that person emerges. And when that person emerges, you will see what has been true all along. You were never limited. You are only unfinished. Unfinished does not mean broken. It means you are still in motion, still being shaped, still holding within you the possibility to become something greater. Too often, people mistake their current stage as their final destination. They look at their struggles, their flaws, their failures, and they accept them as permanent truths. But nothing about you is permanent unless you allow it to be. You are not defined by what has already happened. You are defined by what you choose to do now. Every decision you make is a stroke on the canvas of your life. And with each stroke, you can either reinforce the same picture or create something entirely new. The most dangerous belief is the belief that you cannot change. That belief kills dreams before they ever breathe. It convinces you to settle for less than you deserve. It changed you to a version of yourself that you have outgrown. But if you are listening now, it is because something inside you refuses to accept that belief any longer. You feel the pull toward more. You sense the urgency of time. And you know deep in your core that you are capable of becoming someone who cannot be ignored, someone who commands respect, someone who walks in alignment with their true potential. Change begins in the smallest moments, but its impact grows exponentially. When you wake up earlier than you feel like, you send a message to your mind, I control my choices, not my emotions. When you complete the task you wanted to avoid, you prove to yourself I follow through no matter what. When you silence the distractions and focus, you show yourself I value my growth more than my comfort. These small victories accumulate. They build into a force that reshapes your identity. And once your identity changes, your life cannot remain the same. You must understand that transformation is not about perfection. It is about progress. Waiting to feel ready or flawless before you begin will keep you waiting forever. Progress happens because you act despite imperfection, despite fear, despite discomfort. It is the courage to take one more step when everything in you wants to stop. That is what creates the unstoppable momentum that carries you beyond doubt. Every time you push through resistance, you train your mind to see yourself differently. And once your mind sees you as powerful, your actions align with that power. This week is a chance to create a turning point so sharp that the old you cannot follow. A chance to live each day as if it were proof that change is real, that growth is possible, that greatness is within reach. You do not need anyone to hand you permission. You do not need validation to rise. You need only the decision to step forward with relentless consistency, to act as if the person you want to be is already here. And the moment you act that way, you are that person. 7 days of radical honesty, discipline, and courage will feel like a lifetime of growth compared to years of hesitation. People around you will notice the difference, not because you tell them, but because you carry yourself with a presence that cannot be denied. You will notice it too. You will feel it in your body, in your energy, in the way you face challenges. The transformation will not be something you hope for. It will be something you live. And once you taste that power, you will never want to go back. Once you experience even a glimpse of your true power, the illusion of your limits begins to collapse. You start to see how much of your life was shaped not by what you were truly capable of, but by what you were willing to settle for. Settling has been the silent thief, stealing your time, stealing your confidence, stealing the greatness you were born to express. And the moment you decide that settling is no longer an option, everything changes. You stop asking what is easy, and you start asking what is necessary. You stop measuring your actions by comfort, and you begin measuring them by alignment with the person you want to become. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not with the world around you. It is with the world within you. The doubts, the fears, the excuses, the old patterns that try to drag you back into who you used to be. These inner battles are relentless, but they are not invincible. Each time you choose discipline over laziness, courage over fear, focus over distraction, you win a round, and the more rounds you win, the weaker your old self becomes. Until eventually that version of you no longer has power. It becomes a memory, not an identity. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they are all waiting for leadership. They are waiting for you to take control instead of drifting. Leadership begins with commanding yourself, with saying, "This is who I am now, and I refuse to act like anything less." That declaration, repeated through action, is what creates unshakable confidence. Confidence does not come from compliments, from validation, or from recognition. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. It comes from showing up when it would be easier to quit. It comes from doing the hard things no one else sees and realizing you are capable of far more than you imagine. Do not make the mistake of thinking that transformation is far away. It begins the moment you decide to rise. It is built in the quiet hours when no one claps, when no one notices, when no one is there to applaud your effort. Those hours matter most because they prove who you are when the spotlight is gone. They forge the identity that shines later in public. And when the results finally become visible, people will think it happened overnight. They will not understand the battles you fought, the discipline you built, the pain you endured to become unrecognizable. But you will know, and that knowledge will fuel a confidence that cannot be shaken. This week is your proving ground. Every day is an opportunity to take one step closer to the person you've always wanted to be. That person does not appear by chance. That person emerges when you commit fully, when you no longer give energy to excuses, when you decide that the discomfort of growth is worth infinitely more than the comfort of staying the same. Every action you take in alignment with that decision builds momentum. And momentum is what makes transformation inevitable. When you stack enough victories, when you win enough inner battles, you cross a line, you look at yourself differently. You walk differently, you speak differently, you no longer hope for change, you embody it. And when that shift happens, no one will recognize you. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally became yourself. Becoming yourself is not about adding more, it is about stripping away everything that never belonged to you. The doubts that others planted in your mind, the fears passed down through years of conditioning, the labels that never defined your true spirit. When you let go of these false layers, you uncover the raw strength that has been waiting to rise. And that strength is unstoppable because it is not borrowed from anyone else. It is yours. It was always yours. This is why transformation feels so powerful. It is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering who you were before the world convinced you to shrink. The discipline, the focus, the courage, they are not foreign qualities. They are the natural state of a mind that refuses to be enslaved by weakness. And once you begin to act in alignment with that truth, your entire perception of yourself begins to shift. You no longer wake up wondering if you can change. You wake up knowing you already are changing. Every day you live in discipline is a vote for the future version of you. Every repetition, every decision, every act of self-control is casting a ballot in favor of the person you are becoming. And when you cast enough votes, the old version of you is outnumbered. The identity of weakness loses the election, and the identity of strength takes the throne. That is how transformation happens, not in one sudden moment, but in a series of relentless choices that compound into undeniable evidence. People often wait for proof before they commit. They want to see results before they believe. But belief does not come after proof, it creates proof. Your actions are the evidence your belief produces. When you believe you are disciplined, you act disciplined. When you believe you are powerful, you act powerful. And when you act with belief long enough, the world begins to mirror it back to you. That reflection is what people call success. But success is not something you stumble upon. It is something you decide on long before anyone else sees it. The pain of growth is the greatest teacher you will ever know. Every moment of discomfort is not a punishment, it is preparation. Pressure builds diamonds, resistance builds muscle, and struggle builds character. So when you feel resistance this week, welcome it. When you feel the urge to quit, lean in harder, because those exact moments are the gateways. They are the barriers that separate who you were from who you are becoming. Push through them, and you step into a reality the old you could never survive. You will notice the change in how you carry yourself. Your energy will feel different. Your thoughts will sound different. Even your silence will feel stronger. People around you may not understand it at first, but they will sense it. And their recognition is not the goal. It is simply confirmation of what you already know, that you are no longer the same. Do not wait for the end of this week to feel that truth. Start living it now. Every breath you take is a reminder that you are alive for a reason. Every choice you make is proof of whether you are moving closer to your potential or further away. Choose the path that scares you, the path that challenges you, the path that forces you to rise. Because it is on that path and only on that path that you will discover the person no one will recognize, but everyone will respect. Respect is not demanded. It is earned through the way you live. People may not listen to what you say, but they will always feel the energy of who you are. And when you live with discipline, when you embody consistency, when you carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who has conquered their own mind, that energy speaks louder than any words ever could. Respect follows strength. And strength is not about force. It is about mastery. The mastery of self. Mastery begins with the smallest choices. The decision to rise when you want to sleep. The decision to move when you want to be still. The decision to focus when the world offers distraction. These are the invisible victories that forge visible results. Most will never see them, but you will feel them. And what you feel inside eventually radiates outside. Your energy becomes undeniable. That is the kind of respect that cannot be faked, cannot be borrowed, cannot be bought. It must be built. This is why self-respect is the foundation of every transformation. If you do not respect yourself, you will always sabotage yourself. But when you begin to keep promises to yourself, you create a new cycle. Every act of discipline strengthens your respect. Every time you follow through, your self-trust grows. And when self-trust grows, confidence becomes natural. Confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the calm certainty that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Think about the difference between the person who constantly breaks their own word and the person who honors it. One lives in quiet shame, always second-guessing, always hesitating. The other walks with presence because they know they will do what they said they would do. This is the shift you are building. And once it takes root, it changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. That shift in identity is the ultimate transformation. But understand this, you cannot fake it. You cannot pretend discipline. You cannot trick your way into confidence. The mind knows the truth, and until your actions align with your vision, you will feel the conflict. That is why this week is so important. It is the proving ground where you align what you say with what you do, where you end the cycle of excuses and replace it with the cycle of execution. The moment those two align, you become unstoppable. The world is full of people waiting for change to come from outside, waiting for luck, waiting for opportunity, waiting for someone else to open the door. But the door is already in front of you. It is unlocked. All you have to do is push it open with action. Action is the ultimate proof of belief. Without it, dreams remain fantasies. With it, fantasies become reality. Every step you take this week is not just a task to complete. It is a declaration of who you are. Every time you push through, you are carving a new identity into your soul. That identity will carry you long after this week is over. And when others finally see the new you, they won't recognize you, but you will. Because for the first time in your life, you will see yourself clearly. And that clarity will be the fuel that drives you into the life you were always meant to live. Clarity is the most powerful weapon you can carry. Because once you see yourself clearly, there is no going back. You cannot unsee your potential. You cannot unknow your strength. You cannot pretend to be powerless once you have tasted the truth of what you are capable of. And that truth is simple. You are far greater than the life you have been settling for. The only thing standing between you and that greatness is your willingness to claim it. The mind will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will whisper that change is too hard, that discipline is too much, that comfort is safer. But clarity shatters those lies. Clarity shows you the cost of staying the same. It shows you the pain of wasted years, the regret of unlived potential, the emptiness of playing small. And once you see that cost, you will realize that growth is not the painful choice. Staying the same is. Transformation may demand effort, but stagnation demands your soul. The moment you embrace this truth, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking if you feel like it. You stop bargaining with laziness. You decide. And that decision becomes the anchor that holds you steady when resistance rises. Because resistance will rise. It always does. But once your clarity is strong, resistance cannot defeat you. You will feel it, but you will not obey it. You will recognize it for what it is, the dying breath of the old self trying desperately to survive. Every rep, every disciplined act, every choice aligned with your future self is another nail in the coffin of the person you no longer want to be. And as that old version fades, the new one grows stronger. Stronger in thought, stronger in action, stronger in spirit. Until eventually the new you is not just an idea, it is your reality. You look in the mirror and you see a fighter. You see someone who does not quit. You see someone who has earned their own respect. That reflection becomes unshakable proof that transformation is real. This is why you cannot quit halfway. The breakthrough does not come in the first step or the second or the third. It comes when you push past the point you would normally stop. It comes when you defy your old limits and prove to yourself that those limits were never real. That is where confidence is born. That is where identity shifts. That is where the world begins to see someone they do not recognize. Do not chase recognition. But understand this, when you transform yourself so deeply, the world cannot ignore it. People will sense it in your presence. They will notice it in your discipline. They will feel it in your energy. And their recognition is not the reward. It is only the reflection. The real reward is the certainty you feel inside, the unshakable knowing that you became the person you once only dreamed of. Clarity, discipline, and action are the keys. And when you live them, not just for a day, not just for a moment, but consistently, everything about your life changes. Not slowly, not someday, but now. And once you cross that line, once you step fully into this version of yourself, you will look back at the old you with gratitude for surviving, but with certainty that you are never going back. Never going back is the true victory, because it means you have burned the bridges that once kept you tied to mediocrity. It means the option to retreat no longer exists. The old habits, the old excuses, the old identity, they no longer fit who you are. You outgrew them. And when you outgrow something, you cannot shrink yourself back into it. No matter how tempting comfort may feel, growth creates a one-way path forward, and that path leads to strength, freedom, and self-respect. This is why half-hearted effort will never deliver transformation. Half measures keep the door open for weakness to crawl back in. If you leave an escape route to your old self, you will take it the moment things feel difficult. But when you commit fully, when you decide there is no way back, difficulty becomes fuel. Every obstacle becomes proof that you are on the right path. Every challenge becomes a stepping stone toward the identity you are building. Commitment transforms obstacles from walls into weapons. Think about the power of full commitment. When you declare to yourself, I will not stop until this is done, something inside shifts. Doubt loses its voice. Fear loses its grip. Distraction loses its power. You become laser focused because your mind is no longer negotiating. Negotiation is where dreams go to die. Commitment is where dreams are reborn into reality. And once you live in that state of no negotiation, you experience a level of freedom most people never know. Freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. Freedom is becoming strong enough to do what is necessary no matter how you feel. That strength liberates you from the chains of mood and emotion. It makes you unstoppable because your actions are no longer controlled by temporary feelings. They are controlled by your vision, your purpose, your higher self. That is the kind of freedom that transforms not just a week, not just a month, but an entire lifetime. Every time you honor your commitment, you are building an identity so solid that nothing can shake it. An identity is destiny. Once you see yourself as someone who always follows through, who always pushes harder, who always rises when others fall, then your destiny is set. Your results, your relationships, your opportunities, all of them rise to match the person you have become. The outside world will shift to reflect the transformation you created inside. But the key is consistency. One act of discipline proves what is possible. Repeated discipline proves who you are. And when you prove it enough times, it stops being an act. It becomes your nature. That is why a single week of radical commitment can change everything, because it gives you undeniable proof of who you are capable of being. And once you have that proof, you can never again believe the lie that you are weak. This week is your declaration, not with words, but with actions, not by telling the world who you are, but by showing yourself first. When you show yourself, the world has no choice but to notice. And when they look at you after this, they will not recognize the person they once knew. They will see strength where there was hesitation, clarity where there was doubt, power where there was fear. And you will feel it too. Not as a dream, not as a hope, but as your new reality. Reality is the mirror of your choices. It does not lie. It does not flatter. It simply reflects who you have decided to be. If you see weakness in the reflection, it is because weakness has been chosen. If you see strength, it is because strength has been earned. And the beauty of this truth is that the reflection can be changed at any moment. Every choice you make today alters the person you see tomorrow. That is the power most people overlook. They live as if their identity is fixed, when in fact it is sculpted daily by their actions. This means every second of discipline is an act of creation. Every moment of courage is a brushstroke painting the future version of yourself. And when you live with that awareness, nothing you do is wasted. Even the smallest effort compounds, even the smallest victory matters. The habit of finishing what you start, the habit of refusing to retreat, the habit of holding yourself to a higher standard, these are the bricks that build the foundation of the unshakable self. You must understand that transformation is not reserved for the special few. It is available to anyone willing to pay the price of consistency. The difference between those who rise and those who remain the same is not talent, not luck, not opportunity. It is discipline. Discipline is the great equalizer. It does not care where you started. It only cares how far you are willing to go. And when you decide to embody it, you gain access to a strength that feels almost limitless. Limitless is not about doing everything. It is about becoming unstoppable at what matters. When you know what you are building, when your vision is sharp and your purpose is unshakable, distractions lose their appeal. The things that once pulled you away from progress suddenly feel meaningless. Your energy is no longer scattered. It is directed like a laser. That kind of focus is rare, but it is also magnetic. It pulls opportunities towards you. It pulls people towards you. It makes the world take notice because alignment cannot be ignored. This is the point where momentum becomes your ally. At first, discipline feels heavy. Every choice requires effort. But when repeated long enough, it becomes natural. Momentum begins to carry you forward. The weight you once struggled with becomes your strength. The habits that once felt impossible become automatic. That is the tipping point. The place where change no longer feels forced, it feels inevitable. And when you reach that place, the old you disappears for good. Do not underestimate how quickly that tipping point can come. 7 days of consistent, disciplined choices can shift your entire identity. It can give you evidence so undeniable that your mind will never again believe the lie of weakness. And once your mind changes, your life follows. Because life is nothing more than a reflection of the standards you hold for yourself. Raise the standard, and everything around you rises with it. This is why no one will recognize you after this week, not because you became someone else, but because you finally demanded more of yourself. You held yourself to a higher standard, and you refused to lower it. That standard reshaped your actions, your energy, your presence. And when the world sees you now, they will see the person you always had the potential to be, but never had the discipline to reveal, until now. Recognition is not the goal. Transformation is. Because the truth is, the world may or may not applaud you, but your life will always reflect the choices you make. External validation fades quickly, but inner strength becomes permanent. The question is not whether others will notice your change, but whether you will refuse to return to the person you once were. If you can hold that line, if you can protect the progress you have earned, then your transformation is real and nothing can take it away from you. The greatest trap is chasing approval instead of purpose. Approval is fickle. It depends on moods, on opinions, on the insecurities of others. But purpose is steady. Purpose does not shift when people doubt you. It does not vanish when no one claps for you. Purpose anchors you to something deeper than recognition. It anchors you to meaning. And when you live for meaning, your actions carry a weight that cannot be shaken by outside noise. You become unshakable because you are no longer moved by surface level rewards. When you wake up with that kind of clarity, hesitation dies. You no longer waste energy wondering what others will think because you know why you are doing it. That certainty frees you. It gives you the ability to move forward boldly, without hesitation, without apology. It makes you courageous in ways you never imagined, because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of purpose. When purpose burns brightly enough, it overpowers fear. And that is the fire that will carry you into the new version of yourself. Think about the power of living with such conviction. Imagine a week where every action is fueled by purpose, not convenience, where every decision is measured not by comfort, but by alignment with your highest vision. The impact of such a week would ripple through your life. Your energy would rise.